They laughed, thinking she was just browsing. A wealthy man sneered as the black woman stepped into the high-end boutique, her eyes scanning the luxury items with a calm yet confident gaze, the sunlight streaming through the tall glass windows catching the subtle shimmer of her tailored blazer and crisp white blouse, her posture straight and composed, every movement deliberate yet relaxed, her presence commanding the space without a word. The man, dressed in an expensive suit and polished shoes, leaned against the display, a smirk tugging at his lips as he watched her, certain his status and wealth made him untouchable, unaware that this woman carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who had navigated far more challenging situations than he could imagine. She approached the sleek marble counter with graceful steps, fingers lightly brushing the smooth surface as she engaged a sales associate with polite questions and precise instructions, her tone measured and intelligent, drawing subtle attention from nearby customers who could sense the contrast between her composed confidence and the man's overt arrogance. He continued to speak in a low, patronizing voice, making comments that were intended to belittle, each word revealing his expectation that she would be intimidated or laugh nervously, but she simply nodded, her expression serene, eyes unwavering, absorbing every detail of the store, every placement of the merchandise, every reaction from staff and clientele, calculating her next move with the meticulousness of someone who had been underestimated countless times before. As she examined a limited edition handbag, her fingers tracing the fine leather, she subtly checked her smartwatch, confirming details that most people would overlook, and smiled faintly at the perfect alignment of opportunity and timing, the store's ambient music and soft chatter around her forming a background that seemed to highlight her strategic calm. While the man's smirk faltered slightly, a flicker of doubt crossing his face, though he quickly masked it with a laugh, still convinced of his superiority. The woman's attention to detail, her thoughtful evaluation of options, and her unhurried movements created a sense of intrigue, hinting that she was far more than a casual shopper, that her presence in the store was intentional and purposeful, and that the narrative he assumed about her would soon unravel in a way he could not predict. The tension in the room was subtle yet palpable, every glance, every adjustment of posture contributing to a story unfolding silently before the onlookers. A story of confidence, intelligence, and unassailable poise, setting the stage for an unexpected turn that would challenge assumptions, upend expectations, and demonstrate that power and control are not always visible, but they are recognized by those who carry it within themselves, preparing the audience for a revelation that would shift the dynamic entirely and establish the black woman's authority and foresight in a situation where appearances deceived and judgments were premature, all while maintaining an air of elegance, professionalism, and quiet dominance. Inside the luxury boutique, the atmosphere continued to evolve as the black woman maintained her calm and deliberate presence, now moving slightly deeper into the store where higher-end collections were displayed under soft golden lighting, each item arranged with precision that reflected exclusivity and status, while the wealthy man remained nearby, still watching her with a mixture of amusement and curiosity, convinced that her presence was temporary and harmless, unaware that every second of observation was only reinforcing her understanding of the environment, its structure, and its decision-makers. She paused in front of a glass display showcasing rare designer pieces, her expression unchanged but her attention deeply focused, absorbing not just the products but the way the staff responded to her questions, the subtle shift in tone when she spoke, and the increased attentiveness from the sales associate who now treated her with cautious respect rather than casual service. And this shift did not go unnoticed by the man, whose smirk began to fade slightly as he realized she was receiving more serious attention than he had anticipated, though he quickly dismissed the thought and adjusted his stance, attempting to maintain control of the narrative in his own mind. The woman then asked a series of precise questions about availability, sourcing, and ownership structures of select pieces, her voice steady and articulate, each question revealing a deeper understanding of luxury retail operations than what a casual shopper would normally display, causing the associate to pause occasionally before responding, as if reassessing how to engage with her. Meanwhile, the man leaned closer to a nearby display, speaking under his breath with a dismissive tone, assuming she was merely pretending or overreaching, his confidence still intact but now subtly challenged by the growing sense that the situation was not unfolding as he expected. The lighting in the store reflected off polished surfaces, creating an almost cinematic contrast between her composed focus and his increasingly uncertain amusement, while other customers began to slow their movements, noticing the unusual dynamic between the two figures, sensing that something important was developing even if they could not yet identify what it was. The woman checked a discreet device again, her expression unchanged but her timing deliberate, as if confirming a pre-established plan, and she calmly requested to speak with a senior manager, her tone polite yet absolute, immediately altering the energy of the store as staff exchanged brief glances before complying, and the man's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of discomfort appearing as he began to realize that her presence might not align with his assumptions, though he still held on to his belief that control of the situation remained in his favor. The tension grew not through conflict, but through precision, silence, and confidence, as every movement from the woman reinforced a growing truth that the man was only beginning to sense, setting the stage for a shift in power that would soon redefine everything he believed about the encounter. From the arrangement of high-end products to the reactions of staff members who now approached her with subtle deference, recognizing an unexpected presence of command and expertise, the wealthy man, still lingering nearby, attempted to maintain a casual demeanor, but the earlier amusement on his face began to give way to a flicker of uncertainty as he watched her interactions, realizing that her attention to detail and the deliberate questions she asked about ownership, pricing, and procurement demonstrated a depth of knowledge far beyond that of a typical shopper, hinting at a position of influence that he had not anticipated, and he found himself reassessing the assumptions that had guided his initial judgment. The woman paused at a display of limited edition items, her expression neutral yet penetrating, her eyes scanning labels, descriptions, and certifications, each motion precise, conveying confidence without arrogance, while the staff member nearest to her subtly adjusted their posture, ready to accommodate requests with utmost professionalism, indicating a silent acknowledgement of her authority, which was entirely unspoken yet palpably recognized in the micro-expressions and body language around her. The man shifted slightly, attempting to reassert a sense of control by making casual remarks about the products, yet his words were met with measured responses from the woman, who maintained polite neutrality while subtly demonstrating an awareness of the organizational hierarchy of the boutique and its management, as if she were assessing not only the merchandise but also the structural operations and the chain of decision-making behind the scenes. Her movements were deliberate and confident, her pacing calm and methodical, projecting a quiet dominance that began to unsettle the man, whose earlier laughter and dismissiveness had underestimated the presence and knowledge she carried into the space, creating a tension that drew the attention of other patrons who instinctively slowed their own browsing, sensing an important interaction unfolding even if the specifics remained unclear. As she approached the end of the aisle, she requested to view certain premium pieces reserved for serious clients, her tone polite yet firm, commanding attention without raising her voice, signaling her status and expertise, while the man observed closely, a subtle unease in his expression, as he realized that the narrative he had constructed about control, humor, and casual superiority was being quietly dismantled by her informed and authoritative engagement, setting the stage for a revelation that would soon redefine the dynamics of the encounter between them. As the luxury boutique transitioned deeper into a moment of heightened attention, the black woman stood calmly near the premium display section where rare designer pieces were showcased under carefully engineered lighting, her posture unchanged, her presence steady and composed as she evaluated the items with a level of focus that suggested both familiarity and authority, while staff members now moved with increased attentiveness around her, responding more quickly to her presence as if subconsciously recognizing that she was not an ordinary customer. The wealthy man, still lingering a short distance behind, attempted to maintain his earlier sense of superiority, but his confidence had begun to fracture in subtle ways, revealed through the way he adjusted his stance and observed her interactions more carefully, no longer laughing openly but instead watching with growing uncertainty as she engaged the store associate in detailed discussion about product provenance, exclusive access tiers, and acquisition processes that most casual shoppers would never consider. The atmosphere in the boutique, while still elegant and calm, carried an undercurrent of anticipation as other customers slowed their browsing, sensing that a shift in dynamics was unfolding, even if they could not yet fully understand its direction. The woman's tone remained polite and composed, yet every question she asked carried precision and intent, each response she received from staff subtly reinforcing the impression that she operated on a different level of familiarity with this environment, and the store associate, now visibly more careful in their communication, retrieved additional information from behind the counter and briefly consulted with another colleague before returning with a more formal acknowledgement of her requests. The man attempted to interject with a dismissive comment, but his voice no longer carried the same effortless dominance as before, instead sounding slightly forced, as though he was trying to reassert control over a situation that was no longer responding to his expectations. The woman did not react to his remarks directly, maintaining her calm focus on the staff and the items in front of her, which only heightened the contrast between their behaviors, making the imbalance in perception more noticeable to those around them. The lighting in the store reflected off polished marble and glass surfaces, emphasizing the elegance of the environment while simultaneously highlighting the emotional shift occurring within it, as attention subtly redirected toward the woman's measured and confident presence when she requested access to a private collection. Normally reserved for top-tier clients, the request was handled with immediate seriousness, prompting a quiet exchange among staff and a discreet call toward management, signaling that her status within this space was being reevaluated in real time. The man's expression tightened slightly as he observed this development, his earlier amusement now replaced by a growing sense of disbelief, as the narrative he had assumed about her identity and purpose began to collapse under the weight of her informed presence and the store's increasingly formal response to her requests, setting the stage for an imminent turning point that would redefine the entire interaction between them. As the atmosphere in the luxury store continued to shift, the black woman's confidence remained unshaken, her every movement deliberate and precise as she navigated the polished aisles, touching fabrics and inspecting display cases with an authority that suggested both knowledge and ownership. Her calm composure contrasted sharply with the wealthy man's growing unease, whose forced attempts at casual observation now betrayed a subtle tension, as if he was beginning to grasp that the dynamics he had assumed were collapsing. She requested additional information on the valuation and acquisition history of rare items, and the staff responded with a level of attentiveness that subtly elevated her above the usual clientele, reflecting an unspoken acknowledgement of her expertise and influence, which further unsettled the man as he realized the social assumptions he had relied upon were being quietly dismantled in real time. Other shoppers paused, sensing a shift, observing how the woman maintained polite yet firm interactions, negotiating details that only someone with intimate knowledge of high-end acquisitions could command, and her queries were met with thorough explanations, careful demonstrations, and rapid adjustments to accommodate her requests, emphasizing her authority and the deference she inspired without needing to assert it aggressively. The man, now attempting to interject, found his voice softer, lacking the confident inflection that had initially carried, and his gestures became more restrained as he watched her direct the conversation and navigate the boutique with effortless control, the staff discreetly recognizing her preference, retrieving protected items, and opening previously restricted areas to her, actions that solidified her elevated status within the environment while subtly highlighting his relative lack of influence in this specific context. The lighting accentuated every surface, from reflective marble to glass displays, emphasizing not only the elegance of the space but also the contrast between her poised authority and his uneasy attempts at dominance, while customers nearby unconsciously adjusted their attention to follow her, drawn by the combination of knowledge, presence, and deliberate calm that communicated both respect and curiosity, and even the background noise seemed to quiet slightly around the interaction she directed, lending her movements additional significance. As she confirmed her selections and arranged for private consultations regarding future acquisitions, her demeanor conveyed strategic patience, each word measured and each action purposeful, creating a rhythm that guided the boutique staff and subtly commanded the attention of those around her. And the man, observing from a short distance, now displayed signs of internal recalibration, rethinking assumptions about status and authority as the narrative he had expected unraveled quietly but definitively before his eyes, setting the stage for the eventual culmination of this encounter that would entirely redefine perceptions within the boutique and leave a lasting impression on everyone present. As the interaction inside the luxury boutique approached its decisive turning point, the black woman maintained her calm and authoritative presence while final arrangements were being coordinated by the store's senior staff, who now treated her requests with unmistakable formality and urgency, a clear shift from the initial casual assumptions that had marked her entry into the space. She stood near the private consultation area, her posture relaxed yet commanding, as she reviewed final details regarding acquisition terms and exclusive access to the boutique's highest-tier assets. her tone precise and controlled, reinforcing an image of quiet authority that no longer needed validation from anyone in the room. The wealthy man, now visibly unsettled, observed from a short distance, his earlier confidence fully eroded as he watched the staff respond to her with increasing deference, opening restricted sections and preparing confidential documentation without hesitation, actions that signaled a complete reversal of perceived status within the environment. His body language shifted from casual dismissal to restrained silence, as he began to realize that the situation he had mocked earlier was not only real but significantly beyond his understanding of influence and ownership. The woman, however, remained focused and composed, engaging in a calm exchange with the senior manager who had now joined the conversation, confirming details of high-level access and future strategic involvement with the boutique's assets, each statement she made reinforcing her position as someone operating at a structural level far above ordinary clientele. Surrounding customers, now fully aware that something extraordinary was unfolding, watched in quiet disbelief as staff movements became more formal and coordinated around her presence, the store's atmosphere subtly transforming into one of controlled deference and professional acknowledgement. The lighting in the boutique reflected off glass displays and polished surfaces, accentuating the elegance of the environment while simultaneously highlighting the shift in power dynamics that had occurred almost imperceptibly through dialogue, documentation, and procedural recognition rather than confrontation. The man attempted one final glance toward her, but his expression now carried uncertainty rather than superiority, as the reality of her influence became undeniable through the actions of those around them. She concluded her final confirmation with a calm nod, signaling completion of the process, and the staff immediately proceeded to finalize arrangements that effectively granted her full authority over the requested acquisition, a decision that redefined the structure of the space she had entered. As she prepared to leave the consultation area, her composure remained unchanged, embodying a quiet but absolute command that lingered in the room even after she moved, leaving behind a transformed environment where assumptions had been dismantled, hierarchy had been quietly rewritten, and the man who once laughed now stood in silence, confronted by a reality he had failed to recognize until it was already complete. As the final phase of the luxury boutique encounter unfolded, the black woman moved with calm precision through the now fully responsive environment, where every staff member had shifted into a heightened level of professionalism, acknowledging her authority not through words alone but through coordinated action, preparation, and the seamless execution of high-level procedures that had been activated in response to her confirmed status. She paused briefly near the exit of the private consultation area, her posture relaxed yet unmistakably dominant in presence, as final documentation was prepared and verified, each page reflecting her control over the transaction that had previously been unrecognized by those around her. The wealthy man, standing several steps behind, now appeared noticeably withdrawn, his earlier confidence replaced by quiet reflection and visible discomfort, as he watched the final confirmations being processed and realized that every assumption he had made about her identity and capability had been fundamentally incorrect. A realization that unfolded not through confrontation but through undeniable procedural reality. Around them, the boutique staff maintained respectful composure, offering final acknowledgments and ensuring that all details of the acquisition were properly recorded, their tone and behavior now fully aligned with the recognition of her elevated position, while other customers, still present in the store, observed the conclusion of the process with subdued curiosity, some exchanging glances as they quietly processed what they had witnessed from the moment she entered the space. The lighting in the boutique remained soft and refined, casting a polished glow over the marble and glass surfaces now, symbolically reflecting not just luxury but also the completed shift in authority that had taken place within the environment. The woman accepted the final confirmation documents with a composed nod, her expression steady and unshaken, reinforcing the sense that the entire sequence of events had unfolded exactly as intended, with patience, precision, and strategic clarity guiding each step. The man attempted no further remarks, his silence now definitive, as he stood in contrast to the controlled efficiency surrounding her, fully aware that the dynamic he had once used to measure others had been reversed without confrontation or force. As she turned toward the exit, her movement was smooth and unhurried, signaling closure without emphasis, leaving behind a space that had been subtly but permanently altered by her presence. The boutique returned gradually to its normal rhythm, yet the impact of the encounter remained embedded in the atmosphere. as staff and customers alike processed the rare moment they had witnessed, where perception, assumption, and status had been quietly redefined through authority that required no announcement, only recognition. And as the black woman stepped out of the store, the final impression she left was not of spectacle, but of composed power, intelligence, and control that had reshaped the entire encounter from within, while the man remained behind in silence, confronted by the full weight of a reality he had only understood when it was already complete. The morning sun filtered through the expansive windows of the luxury building as the black woman surveyed the property she had just acquired, the soft glow illuminating her composed expression and the meticulous attention to detail she carried into every interaction, while the white man who had once laughed now lingered near the entrance, quietly observing the finality of her actions and absorbing the gravity of what had just transpired without a word. His earlier arrogance replaced by a reflective awareness of how assumptions can mislead even the most confident individuals. The black woman moved deliberately through each room, her posture relaxed yet unmistakably authoritative, confirming the arrangements, inspecting the architectural nuances, and noting the efficiency of the staff who now operated with seamless coordination in her presence, demonstrating her influence and the respect she commanded through action rather than assertion, while the former skeptic remained a silent witness, increasingly aware of the comprehensive and carefully executed plans she had implemented, each decision reflecting strategic foresight and unspoken expertise. Outside, the city hummed with the normal rhythm of urban life, yet within the building a shift had occurred, as if the space itself now recognized the new dynamic, the interplay of light and shadow accentuating the elegance and permanence of her acquisition. Every corner echoing a silent testament to her capability, and the reversal of expectations that had unfolded over the morning. As she approached the central atrium, the black woman paused to appreciate the subtle reflections on polished surfaces, the way natural light interacted with the refined interior, and the quiet acknowledgement of those present, each glance and gesture reinforcing the unspoken understanding of her authority, while the white man observed from a distance, his body language suggesting contemplation and an unaccustomed humility, no longer the dominant presence but a participant in a scene where reality had redefined status and power in a tangible, unambiguous way. She reviewed documents and confirmations with precision, her calm demeanor underscoring confidence and control, the surrounding staff responsive and attentive, the interactions professional, courteous and flawlessly executed, highlighting her competence without the need for verbal affirmation. The white man unable to interject, his prior presumptions entirely nullified by the unfolding clarity of the structured process. Finally, as she exited the building, the black woman carried herself with unassuming grace, each step a quiet assertion of accomplishment, leaving behind a space transformed not only in ownership but in the perception of power, expertise, and poise, while the man watched silently, confronted by the undeniable proof that respect, authority, and success are earned through deliberate action and strategic insight. His earlier laughter now a memory of misjudgment and the silent acknowledgement of the remarkable outcome that had quietly, yet decisively, reshaped the morning and the entire environment. The atmosphere in the luxury building shifted subtly as the black woman moved from room to room, her footsteps quiet yet purposeful, reflecting a calm determination that had characterized her every action since acquiring the property, while the white man, who had once mocked her, lingered nearby, his posture rigid with a mixture of disbelief and reluctant admiration, observing the seamless way she coordinated with the staff and managed logistics without a single misstep. She paused to inspect the architectural details of the main atrium, her gaze sweeping over the polished floors, the symmetry of the grand staircase, and the subtle interplay of light on reflective surfaces, each detail reinforcing her understanding of the space and demonstrating the depth of her attention to detail, while the man noticed the way her calm authority influenced the environment, creating an unspoken sense of order and respect among those present, his prior assumptions beginning to unravel as he realized that her quiet confidence was backed by competence and strategic planning rather than superficial bravado. As she continued, she engaged in conversations with staff members about operational efficiency, her questions precise, her tone measured yet assertive, eliciting informative responses that highlighted her knowledge and ability to command attention without intimidation. The man silently acknowledging the transformation from the chaos of expectation to the controlled, well-orchestrated reality of her execution. Outside, through the towering glass windows, the city continued its morning rhythm, unaware of the subtle power dynamics unfolding within. But within the walls of the building, every movement and decision underscored the black woman's capability and strategic foresight, her calm demeanor a powerful counterpoint to the white man's earlier mockery, leaving him to silently recalibrate his understanding of authority, wealth, and competence in a context where appearances had proven misleading and substance prevailed. The black woman moved to the upper levels to review office layouts, her attention meticulous, noting spacing, lighting, and the arrangement of work areas, demonstrating an intuitive grasp of both aesthetics and functionality, while the man followed at a distance, absorbing the scene with a growing sense of respect, recognizing that her influence was tangible, immediate, and undeniable, a stark contrast to the superficial assumptions that had guided his previous judgments. As the morning progressed, she completed her walkthrough, ensuring every element aligned with her vision and operational standards, her calm efficiency creating an atmosphere of professionalism and quiet authority, while the white man remained an observer, increasingly aware that the reality before him was a lesson in humility and recognition of skill, a demonstration that strategic planning, decisiveness, and poise had redefined the dynamics of the space and subtly shifted the perception of power and competence, leaving a lasting impression on all present, especially on him as he reflected on the disparity between perception and reality. As the day progressed inside the newly acquired luxury building, the black woman continued her structured walkthrough with calm precision, moving through executive floors and operational spaces as if she had always belonged there, her presence steady and composed while staff members adapted quickly to her expectations, adjusting schedules, access protocols, and internal arrangements in real time, each action reflecting her silent but undeniable authority over the environment. The white man, now no longer projecting arrogance but instead a restrained sense of reflection, followed at a respectful distance, observing how effortlessly she transitioned between strategic oversight and detailed evaluation, noting the way she engaged with architects and managers through concise, intelligent questions that revealed not only ownership but also vision for future development. She paused in a spacious conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline, her gaze briefly fixed on the horizon as she considered operational restructuring and long-term planning, her posture relaxed yet commanding, signaling a level of control that extended beyond the physical building into its entire organizational structure, while the man quietly absorbed the contrast between his earlier assumptions and the undeniable reality unfolding before him, recognizing that her success was rooted in discipline, preparation, and a depth of understanding he had failed to appreciate. Staff members moved efficiently around her, presenting documents and digital confirmations for final review, each interaction handled with professionalism and deference that reinforced her position, while she responded with measured acknowledgement, ensuring that every detail aligned with her standards before proceeding, her calm demeanor setting the tone for the entire environment and subtly influencing the behavior of everyone present. As she completed the final review of operational frameworks, she provided clear and concise directives regarding staffing adjustments, customer experience optimization, and structural improvements, each instruction delivered with quiet authority and immediate clarity, leaving no ambiguity in expectation or execution. The white man, now fully silent, stood near the edge of the room, his earlier confidence replaced by contemplation as he observed how seamlessly she commanded both respect and efficiency without force or confrontation, realizing that her influence extended far beyond ownership into the very culture of the space itself. The atmosphere in the building reflected this transformation, shifting from a luxury retail environment into a structured, strategically managed enterprise under her guidance, where every movement and decision now aligned with a unified vision. And as the session concluded, she gathered her documents with composed finality, signaling the end of the evaluation phase and the beginning of implementation, while the man remained behind for a moment longer, absorbing the weight of what he had witnessed, understanding now that power was not defined by appearance or assumption, but by clarity of purpose, disciplined execution, and the quiet authority that she embodied throughout the entire encounter. As the morning sun streamed through the large glass windows of her new property, the black woman moved confidently across the marble floors, her steps measured and purposeful, exuding calm authority while she reviewed the operational layout with a meticulous eye. Every detail from lighting to signage was examined, and she paused at key junctures to make adjustments, demonstrating a combination of foresight and practical intelligence that commanded attention without raising her voice, her demeanor both approachable and firmly in control, subtly reinforcing her position as the owner and decision-maker in every interaction with staff and consultants present. The white man, initially brimming with skepticism, observed quietly from a distance, his previous assumptions fading as he watched her navigate the space with seamless confidence, noting how she addressed employees with clarity, encouragement, and expectation, setting a tone of professional respect and high standards that seemed to ripple through the room, transforming the atmosphere into one of disciplined efficiency and careful attention to detail. She stopped to review digital plans on a tablet, pointing out adjustments and confirming measurements, her expressions composed yet focused, conveying both authority and vision, while the man followed each step, his posture now reflective, realizing the depth of her strategic oversight and the precision in her decision-making that left no room for error or misinterpretation. As she moved to the open-plan office area, she interacted with team members, giving succinct instructions and affirming their roles with concise, effective communication, demonstrating her capacity to inspire confidence and direct action simultaneously. The white man silently acknowledging the gap between his initial perception and the reality unfolding, impressed by her capability to manage complexity with grace and assertiveness without relying on confrontation or intimidation. She concluded the morning walkthrough by summarizing operational priorities, delegating tasks and confirming timelines, her movements deliberate and her expressions steady, reinforcing a culture of accountability and excellence, while the man watched her orchestrate the interactions, understanding that true leadership combined vision, preparation, and the ability to influence outcomes subtly but decisively. As she exited the space for a brief external inspection, her presence remained magnetic and the man, now fully aware of her competence and command, followed at a respectful distance, reflecting on the lessons of humility, perception, and respect for expertise, while employees continued their work seamlessly, having internalized the expectations she had established, and the building itself seemed to resonate with the order, focus, and efficiency she had instilled, marking a turning point in both their professional understanding and the unfolding narrative of ownership and authority. As the afternoon sunlight shifted through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the black woman continued her meticulous inspection of the newly acquired building, her focus unwavering as she reviewed operational protocols and layouts with precision. She walked calmly through corridors, checking signage, adjusting lighting angles, and confirming that each workspace reflected the standard of excellence she envisioned, her movements confident and deliberate, exuding both authority and approachability while engaging with staff who responded to her clear, composed instructions with efficiency and attentiveness. The white man, observing from a respectful distance, could not help but notice her strategic thinking and poise, realizing that his previous assumptions about her capabilities had been mistaken, as she seamlessly balanced oversight, delegation, and active problem-solving without raising her voice or appearing flustered, conveying an aura of competence that subtly commanded respect from everyone in the vicinity. She paused to examine key operational details on her tablet, making annotations and providing guidance, her expressions focused yet calm, demonstrating a high level of organizational skill and situational awareness, while the man mentally recorded the lessons unfolding before him, understanding the depth of her expertise and the careful orchestration of workflow she implemented, transforming the space into an environment of structured productivity and deliberate intent. As she continued to circulate through the building, she interacted with team members, providing affirmations and clarifying priorities, her body language open but authoritative, reinforcing her position while inspiring confidence and accountability among staff. The white man silently acknowledging the gap between his initial impression and the reality of her leadership, impressed by her ability to manage complexity and maintain order with clarity and foresight. She concluded her inspection by reviewing timelines, delegating responsibilities, and confirming progress checkpoints, her presence steady and deliberate, ensuring that the operational plan would be executed precisely, while the man observed, reflecting on the contrast between perception and capability, learning a profound lesson in humility and professional respect, as the building itself seemed to embody the efficiency, clarity, and controlled energy she had instilled, marking a pivotal moment in their shared understanding of authority, competence, and influence in a professional environment where assumptions could easily mislead and perception alone could not capture the full scope of expertise. As the final evening light filtered through the expansive windows of the newly acquired building, the black woman moved with quiet authority, walking through each office and communal space, her attention to detail evident in every gesture as she adjusted furniture, checked lighting, and ensured each room reflected the standard of excellence she demanded, her posture composed, her face reflecting focus and determination while staff observed respectfully, responding with efficiency and attentiveness. The white man, now fully aware of the depth of her capabilities, followed at a measured pace, watching as she coordinated with team leads, clarified responsibilities, and verified operational workflows, her voice calm yet commanding, articulating priorities with clarity and precision, leaving no room for ambiguity, while the man reflected on the contrast between his initial assumptions and the undeniable reality of her expertise, realizing the gap between perception and actual competence. She paused at the main conference area, reviewing progress charts and schedules, marking tasks as complete, while simultaneously mentoring junior staff with patient guidance, reinforcing a culture of professionalism, accountability, and excellence, her expressions a mixture of encouragement and critical observation, demonstrating that leadership could be both firm and supportive, both instructive and respectful, without resorting to raised voices or undue pressure. The man noted her strategic insight, the way she anticipated potential challenges, delegating responsibilities efficiently, and communicating expectations with a calm confidence that inspired immediate trust and respect, contrasting sharply with the casual dismissiveness he had displayed earlier, understanding the full scope of her command over both people and processes. As she concluded her walkthrough, she gathered the team for a brief summary, reiterating objectives, affirming accomplishments, and providing clear next steps, her presence simultaneously calming and energizing the room, imbuing the space with a sense of purpose and direction, while the man quietly reflected on his prior misjudgment, witnessing firsthand how her decisiveness, intelligence, and composure transformed the environment into a model of order, efficiency, and professional excellence, encapsulating a lesson in humility and respect, and leaving an indelible impression of authority, skill, and the power of clear, competent leadership, proving that initial appearances could be deceiving and that true capability commanded recognition beyond assumptions and bias.